Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of No More Yes Girls, where we, your hosts, Vivian and Vianney, talk about our healing journeys. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Hi, sister.
Hello, hello. This topic or this week's episode, Vivian's going to do most of the talking. Well, if not all of the talking, because and I had told her that I wanted to do this as well. I wanted her to talk about her experience on homeschooling and her experience of raising a son who has ADHD. What else? Is it
Well, he
just
has
ADHD?
AUDHD.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
AUDHD. So it's autism level 1 and ADHD mixed together. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what it is. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people can relate to this too because I've been seeing it. I've been seeing more and more people, especially on social media, sharing their own experiences with their children having
Mhm.
a mix of some type of autism and ADHD. So I feel like this can definitely help them in some way, or at least sharing your own experience to see if there is anybody who is looking for that, or looking to hear what you have to say and what your experience is. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all about helping other people out, especially when it comes to life experiences like this.
Yeah. So I'll start from the beginning.
Yeah.
So my son, he is my only son. I have two older daughters, and then he's my son, he's my baby. Um, he is at the moment 9 years old. But I started noticing signs when he was a baby, although I guess in the back of my mind, I just kind of pushed it back because I had two daughters and they were so different. They were more calmer. They were more, it was just different. And I would always get the whole, oh no, he's a boy. Boys are more active. Boys, they don't care. They'll throw stuff. They're just more rougher. Um, and he started walking before he turned 10 months. And before that, he started climbing on stuff. So he would do stuff that was a little bit dangerous at such a young age. And I was like, and I'm talking about like he had a rocking chair and I remember this day so vividly. And I also have a picture and a video of it. He was on a rocking chair, a kid's rocking chair. He put it next to this is before he started walking. He was standing up and climbing. um he put it next to the window and he would stand on the rocking chair to look outside. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Like, you're not scared of it. Like, it's rocking. Like, it's not somewhere that it's stable, like it was just little things like that. I did bring it up to the doctor. Doctor said, no, you're used to girls. Boys do that all the time. And I was like, oh, okay. The pediatrician, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess. Um, and he started walking. Then I noticed that he would hit himself all the time, but he wouldn't cry.
Bite himself.
And hit himself,
Oh, hit. Okay.
like, yeah, he would hit himself, or he's like running and he'll fall. Never cried. He would have bruises, he would have, you know lumps and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, wait, where did he get this from? How? Why? Like, there was no crying. And I had a friend one day who came over, and my son was playing on the floor and he was lining up cars. And she looked at me and she said, um, maybe you should have him checked out because kids with autism like to line up objects. And I looked at her and I was like, no, he's playing like it's a train, like he's counting because that's how he learned how to count. Eso sí, math, like numbers, since he was a baby. Like, he loved numbers. And by the time he was 1, he knew how to count over, I think it was like to 20. Like, he just loved numbers. And I looked at her, and so I think that is kind of like I had it deep down inside, like, okay, wait, there's something here, that mom gut feeling, but I didn't know what it was. And then he went to his again to his appointment. I brought it up again. Pediatrician's like, no, he's getting older. Kids run around, they fall, they don't know how they hit themselves, and he kept pushing it away. I'm like, okay, never brought it up again. I thought it was fine. Um, when he was 3, he started preschool. I took him to a preschool, and no, he was 4. I took him to a preschool when he was 4 because I started working. Um, and the teacher there, she was a behavioral therapist, supposedly. And I say supposedly, and I'll tell you why. She kept saying he doesn't listen, he doesn't stay still, he doesn't follow directions. He the only thing is that when we do, like, they do like dancing time, she would put videos and they would dance. He's all over the place. Like, he loved dancing and he's jumping around, but he doesn't stay still. We tell him, he needs to sit down in circle time. He does not stay still. Um, and then we have him eat, and he puts all his food together. He mushes it up together, and then he just plays with it, but he doesn't eat. And I was like, that's weird, because at home he does fine.
Mhm.
Well, in my eyes, he was fine. And then she tried to throw the blame on us. No, it's you guys. You guys don't have a fixed schedule with him. You guys do what he wants, not what he doesn't do what you guys need him to do. And I'm like, okay, wait, something is not right here. So it was just like a battle back and forth. And she tried to get him to learn his sight words. And she's like, I know he knows them, but he doesn't want to say them. I tell him that he needs to say them. He doesn't want to. No, she said, he doesn't know them. And then he would come home and I would do sight words with him and he would say them. So I'm like, okay, wait. So I would have to like record him saying his sight words so that the teacher would see that he didn't know them. But for some reason with her, he just wasn't cooperating.
Yeah.
She tried to put him down for nap time. That didn't work because they would have nap time at a certain time. She's like, he never goes down. He's always jumping around. He's always playing. So we have to take him outside while everybody's napping because he'll wake everybody up. And I was like, okay, what is going on here? It's just those little things where then after I was like, okay, maybe it's you. Maybe you just don't know how to treat kids. I was like, what the heck is going on? So finally, I took a time off from work. I brought him home. I stayed with him. Then I started working with him to see, if everything she was telling me was what she was saying. Started doing math with him. Blew me away because he was doing double digit math. He was 4. And I was like, okay, how does a teacher say you don't know how to do things, but yet you know a lot? Like I couldn't understand, but I liked it because I'm like, oh my God, I have a smart kid, which I do. I was like, oh my God, I have a smart kid. He does know these things, but I guess he just doesn't like the teacher. He didn't want to go back. So I'm like, okay. He starts kindergarten. When he starts kindergarten, same issues. The teacher's like, no, he doesn't stay still. I have to separate him from the rest of the class. He has to sit next to me. He doesn't listen. I tell him to do something. He doesn't want to do it. He's just constantly on his, because they had iPads. He's constantly doing math on his iPad, and that's not what he's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be doing. Then I thought to myself, okay, well, he obviously likes numbers. He loves math. Usually kids that don't like to read like math, and the ones who don't like math love to read. So
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, obviously he doesn't like reading. Like, that's just not his thing, right? But it was always that he doesn't stay still, he moves around, he this, he that. And by then I'm like, okay, you know what? It that sounds more like ADHD. And then I started looking within my family. I'm like, yeah, that's my husband right there. He cannot stay still either. Like, that's just I started seeing it. I mean, I started seeing the signs. I went and I took a course of autism, of actually I took it of ADHD. But it was ADHD and autism. So I ended up taking both of them at the same time. I took that course, and I started informing myself along with the psychology courses, and I started to inform myself and to see. That's where I went, okay. By then, my son already had a counselor at school in kindergarten, and I talked to her about it, and she's like, it's just, he just needs time. She goes, the problem is that when he's in class, the teacher did not want him to stand up at all because he would interrupt the kids.
Mm.
But when he would go with her, he was super excited. They would do activities and stuff like that. And she goes, he cooperates, he's fine. And I'm like, okay. She goes, he sometimes he needs to stand up and he needs to stretch and he needs to move around, but then he comes back, he sits down and he does it again, which was the same thing I was doing to get him to do homework. It's
Mm.
like I had him at home, he had to do homework, he would do homework, and then he started fidgeting or he started, standing up, and I'm like, okay, I think you need a break. I would have him, dance around, and he thought it was so funny. I'm like, okay, take all the wiggles out, and he thought it was so funny, but then he would come back down, sit down, and do the rest of his homework. So I'm like, okay. And I had a whole meeting with the teacher, and I said, and the principal and the counselor, and I said, okay, this is what's going on. Like he has this, and this. He's hyperactive. He needs to take it out in order to do this. And she's like, the teacher told me, well, because he was suspended twice because of it. So he was already being labeled as the defiant child
Mm.
in kindergarten. And so she's like, the thing is that he we start to do language arts, reading and stuff like that. He doesn't want to do it. He's constantly doing math. And I said, because he loves math. And she's like, yeah, but the thing is that when he doesn't even wait for instructions, we say, we're going to do this. And by the time I'm done with the instruction, he's already done with his work. I'm like, okay. And she's like, and he needs to wait until I'm done with the instructions and then start his work. And I'm like, yeah, but he's already ahead of you.
Yeah.
Doesn't that give you a clue that something is not right here? That, he needs more? Because he obviously what you're teaching, he
Already.
apparently already knows. So he's getting bored. And so she's like, well, right now kids are learning, what 1 + 1 is, 2 + 2 is, and he's already like past all that. And I said, okay, so why don't you challenge him? Oh, I can't. And I said, why? Because he's in kinder and I cannot give him work from other grades because his social skills are behind. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Social skills is one thing, and the educational part is a different thing. And she was like, she didn't want to cooperate. At the end of kindergarten, and trust me, this was like a whole year. I would get calls constantly every day. Oh, your son did this. Oh, your son did that. Um, I would get told why, because I knew my son. I knew that, it was the ADHD, and I knew something, it was going to get to the point where they were going to want to do IEPs or, you know, something. Um, by the end of kindergarten, he did not want to go to school anymore. So not only now I know not only was he masking and he was holding off, but he got to the point where he was already stressing out and he just did not want to go to school anymore. So
Mhm.
his kinder promotion, he cried all morning to get for me to be able to tell him, hey, it's okay. You're just going to go for a little bit. I'm going to pull you out. He didn't want to go. He said the teacher didn't like him. The teacher was mean. The kids were mean. He was 5. And I'm like, no, if this is happening now in kindergarten, what's going to happen, you
Later.
know, first through 12th? Because in kinder, he already had that reputation of he's a bad kid. So I talked to the counselor and I said, you know what? I'm going to take him out. And she's like, no, I'm going to be his counselor, And I looked at her and I said, you're a good counselor. You helped him out a lot as much as he loves you. Um, but I don't think this is going to work. Public school is not going to work for my son. I had no idea what I was doing. We never grew up with anybody homeschooling. I had no idea what I could do. I had no idea. I had nothing. I just I literally went on YouTube and I looked for what do I need to do to homeschool. So I told her I'm taking him out. I'm gonna homeschool. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I didn't know how I was gonna start, but I took him out. And I informed myself. So this is information that if you guys have a pen and a pencil, take it out because this is what I did. So I'm in the state of California. So in the state of California, I actually found information to go on the hslda.com website. And if you scroll down, you'll find, let me see, I have it written down here. You'll find where it says homeschool laws by state. So you click on it and you go into your state and it tells you, all what you need to do. It also tells you step by step of what actions you need to take for homeschooling. It's not difficult. Um, it's just new. And like everything new, you just, wonder, am I doing the right thing? Am I not? Um, so I did that. I went into California. I can talk about California as much as I know, but California has four ways of schooling. One is home-based private school homeschooling, which is what I do with my son. So I registered, I signed an affidavit that I give my son his schooling, me myself. There's also one where it's tutoring, where you can hire a tutor to homeschool your children. There's independent studies, which is through the school district. But again, that's the same thing as public school. So whatever you have to do through public school, that's what you have to do in independent studies. And then there's a charter school. So that one, you're also at home. It's hybrid. You're either at home or you can also go once in a while to the school. But everything is done online, so kids do that online. Those are not going to work for my son. He doesn't stay still. He's not gonna, sit there on a computer for long periods of time to get instructions. That does not work for him. Um, I do something totally unconventional. We unschool. So for people who do not know what unschooling is that I do not follow a curriculum at all. So people might see it as an I do not educate my son, or that because they don't see us sitting down at the table doing worksheets or, doing some type of curriculum. That does not work for my son. This is me personally, my experience with my son. Um, we learn on his terms what he wants to learn. So our typical homeschool day looks like we get up in the morning, we have breakfast, we don't have a time to get up, or he doesn't have a time to get up. I say they because my high schooler also homeschools. We get up in the morning, have breakfast. He usually goes on the computer. Minecraft is what he loves. He loves building on Minecraft. So let me be specific. He loves building on Minecraft, goes on Minecraft. He loves to build and do, I forgot what they're called, but he does like a bunch of like buildings, and then he adds things and he takes out things and he builds houses and he does just a bunch of stuff that it all has to do with math, all has to do with engineering. He loves engineering. Um, we go off of that. He is 9 years old, reading, learned on his own, on his terms, when he wanted to. So it was literally it was like from one day to another. There was one day where we practiced the reading. We would lay down, and he loved reading the Bible. That's how he learned how to read. We sat down, read Bible stories. He was struggling a little bit, but he knew, okay, I know this word, I know this word. He learned it on his own because I would sit down with him. Was not working. We would mostly do math and science. That's usually, if we were going to sit down to do something, that's what it was, math and science. And all of a sudden, grabbed a piece of paper, started reading like he knew how to read this whole time. How did that happen? I don't know. That's the unschooling part. He learns at his pace when he wants to learn, how he wants to learn, and what he wants to learn. Um, it's helped him out. We go grocery shopping, or we'll go to the store. He has a budget. He needs to buy whatever, add, do, figure out how much he needs to pay, what change he's going to get. That's unschooling. So it's basically life. He's living life and learning. That's what it is.
Learning life skills. Well,
Learning life skills. Yeah. Hands on.
yeah. And
Hands on.
that link that you said about homeschooling, I'll post it or put it in the description box. That way you guys can go ahead and take a look as well.
Yeah. So that's where we're at with having him being homeschooled. I did notice a lot of other things. Now, mind you, we as parents, we know our kids, so we know the personality of each one of your children, and how, what is it that they're going to do, what is it they're not going to do, what they're capable of, what they're not capable of, what they like, what they don't like. Your children.
Yeah.
With homeschooling, with him at the beginning, because it was so new to me, I started with curriculum, and I did the whole wanting to copy the whole school system in my home. That was not working. He was not cooperating, because he's like, I do not want to do school. I hate school. This is not what I want. I just knew that there was something. I just knew that I didn't want him to hate learning, because we learn every single day of our lives, every day, like for the rest of our lives. So I didn't want him to hate the part of him needing to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So we started saying, okay, we're going to do learning. That helped. Just changing, instead of, oh, we're going to do school, or we're going to do work, or it was like, we're going to do learning. We're going to learn. What are we going to learn? Whatever you want to learn. That helped out a lot. This comes where I started noticing a lot more. It was more apparent as he kept growing. There were sensory issues. So from the beginning, when he started lining up the cars and stuff like that, when he was younger, as he got older, he was about 5 when he started covering his ears, that the noise was too much for him. I thought it was, oh, kids usually, you go to places, you take them to, like, say, the monster trucks or whatever. It's so loud, you cover your ears. Sometimes we do that too, just, random noises. You're like, oh, what was that? But for him, it was different. And I mentioned monster trucks because we took him to a monster truck, and we bought him some noise canceling headphones. He didn't take them off for a while, and he wanted to carry them with him. And that's when I started noticing, okay, wait a minute. This is not, I guess, normal, you could say. Like, okay, loud noises affect him. From there, he started telling me he didn't like we started struggling getting his haircut. We would take him to get his haircut because he had a lot of hair. So since he was a baby, he would go get a haircut with the same barber for years. And it got to the point where he said, I don't like when you take me to cut my hair. And I said, why? I don't like the noise that hurts my ears. And I looked at him and I said, oh, because then I realized why we struggled so much to get him to go cut his hair. Because he just said, I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to. But then when he was able to verbally express it, it was like, oh, okay. Everything started making sense to me. And I started to look for other signs. So at first, it was just like, I was thinking ADHD, right? So he was getting distracted easily. Like he couldn't finish anything. He would start projects, but just would start it and then he was done. Like he was bored. Okay, I'm done. I don't want to do it. That's it. He would struggle to follow directions. or he would forget them. I would tell him, okay, you need to do this, 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 and this. And then it was like, okay, what do I need to do? Because he was like, he would just forget it. Like there was no way I could, and even now I cannot give him like a whole list of things to do unless I write them down and he's checking them off. That he's constantly losing everything, doesn't know where he put it. The other day, he has a phone that he plays with, took it out of the refrigerator. He forgot he left it in there. I guess he put it there to get something else to drink or to eat and then closed it and left it in there. Couldn't find it. It was in there. Um, he makes careless mistakes. So sometimes he does something and I'm like, puppy, what, mommy? It's okay, mommy. Don't worry about it. We all make mistakes. It's like, I know, but why do you constantly like, I get it and I try to teach him, but for him, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, whatever, like next, you know. Um, with his hyperactivity, and I'm looking at notes, that's why I keep looking down. Hyperactivity, constantly moving, can't stay still, not even if he's eating, not even if he needs to be moving constantly. And if he's down for a long time, um, he'll stand up and he does this on his own. Mind you, I learned this at a younger age, so I taught him how to um take out energy. So he knows that he has a trampoline when he feels too much energy, when he's too excited or when he's upset. He knows that he goes, he jumps, he does a few flips, calms down, comes back inside. We also had a punching bag. He's also done push-ups, exercises, and that is all to burn that energy, that extra energy that he has. That was my way of teaching him how to deal with certain emotions. Because when he was younger, he would hit. When he was younger, he would get excited, he would hit. He would get upset, he would hit, or he would throw things. So I started teaching him like, hey, if this emotion that you're feeling is called, say, he was super excited because we would get someone would come over and he would be super excited and he would hit because he was so excited, but he wouldn't understand that that was not okay. So I would say, hey, this feeling that you have, this emotion is called, excitement. If you feel excited, how about you get down and do 5 push-ups? Or how about you go outside and you jump on the trampoline? Or how about you use your words and say, oh my God, I'm so excited, and you can jump. But it was things that I started teaching him how to do that now, I'm like, oh, thank goodness I taught him that. Because imagine a 9-year-old getting excited and hitting you, it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's just not correct. So that's how I learned, and he learned how to manage his energy and his hyperactivity. Um, so he obviously has trouble staying seated. He runs and he climbs in during inappropriate times. So it's something I still work with him. But he's learning how to identify it. But yeah, he right now is into, so he's like jumping around in different things. So he jumps from like a car to like the sidewalk to like the stairs to like that. He's just, what is it called? Parkour. There we go. That's what it is. So he's constantly doing that, and sometimes I have to pull him to the side and say, "Puppy, that's not appropriate for, we're not at the park, or we're not, in a place that you know should be doing that." He understands most of the time, but yeah, sometimes he just does it, like he doesn't think like this is not okay, or I'm not where I'm supposed to be. That's part of the impulsivity.
Yeah.
um he talks excessively.
Yeah.
He talks and talks and talks and talks and talks and talks, and he can never play quietly. He's constantly has to be making noise, constantly needs to, throw stuff, or needs to hear. like a loud noise, which is funny because remember, there's noises that he cannot handle, so he covers his ears.
Hmm.
Um, so we'll get to that part, but and then the impulsivity, he's constantly interrupting. So sometimes I can be talking to my husband or talking to somebody, and all of a sudden it's like, Mom, da, 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 da. And it's not that he does it to be rude, um, but kids with ADHD, they need to take out what they have in their brain at the moment because they'll forget it.
Hmm.
So if I tell him, hold on, wait, it's gone. Like he's not gonna remember. And so that's just the thing that he's just like, needs to take out whatever it is that's on his mind. Um, Impulsivity, or that was interrupts often. He blurts out answers. We get that all the time where, I ask a question, he's the first one that jumps in, and it's like, well, I wasn't asking you, but that's just how it is. Acts without thinking. He does that constantly. He now he'll do things, and because I'm already aware of how his brain works and what he's thinking and how he's doing things or why he's doing it or what part um, of either ADHD or autism that is. I I already know, like, oh, okay, he did this because of this. Um, so he can do something because it's an impulse, but then regret it immediately because he's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But it was because he obviously didn't think. So his brain kind of sent the signal faster than what it took to think. Oh, that's not what we're gonna do. Yeah. And he has very strong and very fast emotional reactions. So sometimes, if something triggers him, his sister could do something or say something or answer before him that triggers him, and he's like, oh. So he does that. It's like so intense, but it's just like a really, strong reaction that he had. So those are the ADHD part of him, that I started seeing within time. But what would confuse me is because I saw that part, but I also saw some autism um, signs, symptoms, whatever you want to call it. And when I saw that, I got confused because I'm like, wait, so what is it? What is it that where does he fall under, right? So, with his social and communication skills under the autism spectrum, which is very low, which is the first level one, where he can do things on his own. He's completely fine. It's just there is that, he's behind a little bit, yeah, in his or his brain kind of just doesn't function as normal, I guess you could say. But then again, what's normal right now?
Yeah.
Um, So in his social and communication skills, when he was younger, he would never play with kids. He would rather play alone. If he didn't know you, he was by himself. And I would constantly say, why doesn't he like to make friends? Or why doesn't he, you know, what's going on? But it's because he didn't know anybody. And unless it was somebody familiar. But other than that, he wouldn't play with anybody else. It was just like you would see him. And still now, he's more of a social butterfly now. He's like talks to everybody, but there is times where I've noticed that there could be a bunch of kids and he notices like if he doesn't fit in, he's complete like he'll just step away, he'll play by himself. Like he's completely fine with that. Um that's up until now. I mean, I don't know. He's 9. He's growing, so I don't know where he's gonna be at. But right now, he's fine with that. Um, he takes things very literal,
Yeah.
very literal. And I started noticing that when he was younger, that I would tell him, he would say, Mom, come here. And I'd be like, okay, puppy, just wait a minute. And then he would come a minute later. Come on. I said, puppy, wait. You said a minute. So I waited a minute. It's been a minute. So let's go. You said a minute. And that's when I noticed that I had to be very careful with what I would say because it was so literal. He is so literal. And even until now, he is. So if I always say this is going to happen, that's what's going to happen because that is what his mind, that's how his mind works. Um, he gives long info dumps about it, whatever he likes. Oh, he'll tell you how it works, how it gets done, when it started, who invented it, how. Oh, he'll tell you everything. He'll tell you from the beginning to the end of how things are. And I'm sure, sister, you've heard those stories of
Oh, I
whenever you
know.
ask him.
I know.
um, and the behaviors and the routines, um, he becomes upset when things change. So I also noticed this a while back, that I could not change a plan on him without letting him know first. So I always tell him what we're going to do the next day and the next day. He still struggles to when plans change because, for example, I don't tell him when someone's going to come to the house because if I tell them and something comes up, if I tell him and something comes up, it dysregulates him. So I have to let him know what we're going to be doing. So, for example, if we're going to go out on, let's say Saturday, I'll tell him, hey, puppy, on Saturday, we're going to go um, to my mom's house or grandma's house or mom's house. And we're going to do this, this, and this. Okay. But then he needs to have that to be able to change his mind and know that's what's going to happen. Um, because yeah, if I change that or it doesn't happen, it's he cannot handle that.
It's more like it makes
It's
him prepare, it prepares him
it
for
prepares him, yeah,
the day. Okay.
for what needs to come, yeah. Um, and then lining up toys or becomes fixated on patterns. I mean, that was him
Yeah.
since the beginning. Sensory. This I also noticed when he turned one, me being my last child, and because I didn't have that with my two older girls, I was like, yes, we're gonna do a smash cake for his first birthday. And so we're gonna take pictures and it's gonna be nice. And so I did the whole thing and I did the smash cake. And as soon as he put his hand on the cake, he started gagging. And he had not tried it. He had not touched nothing. He had just tapped the cake. He does not like, so it's a sensory issue. He doesn't like the way the frosting feels. He does not like it. He doesn't like the taste of it. He does not like cakes with frosting on it whatsoever. So yes, we don't have a cake for his birthday. And if we have one, it's just the bread. It's just, a box cake with a naked cake. And it has to be chocolate because he doesn't like anything else. I think that it's changing a little bit more. He's more open to trying things, but yes, he eats basically the same meals every day. Um, I do know what he likes to eat, so I know that whatever I make for dinner, I know he's going to be a part of. I don't like to exclude him or have him eat separately. It's like, no, we're all going to eat together. Um, one thing that I did notice was dyes. First, I started with Capri Suns. I stopped giving him Capri Suns because I noticed he would get too out of whack
Wow.
with Capri Suns. I cut that off. Then I started cutting off dyes. So he does not eat anything that has dyes in it. Because I started that with him so young, he learned how to read the ingredients on almost everything. He reads them, sees if he can have them or not. If you offer him anything that he knows he cannot have, he will automatically tell you, no, I cannot have that. So I don't worry about that. That's something that he learned, and he saw the difference in his own brain, because he'll tell me, oh, when I eat this, my brain is all over the place. So he'll tell you, yeah, I can't have that, or things that are new that do that he tries to have no dye, but maybe they have too much sugar, or it has an ingredient that it does not work with his system. He'll tell me, oh, I'm not going to have that because that's going to get me everywhere. Like it's recently, what we just discovered was the Arizona green tea. Um, he does not have that, and we just recently discovered that that gets him everywhere, and he said it himself. So um yeah, that's a new one that we added to the list. So that, yeah, that is about the sensory, um the sensor to textures, certain textures, certain foods. um he covers his ears. um he gets overstimulated when there's a lot of people.
Mhm.
It's like it's too much for him when there's too many people, when there's too much noise, when people are talking, um and it's too much for him, he'll yell. Like he needs to yell, and he needs to like this is too much, so it overstimulates him. Or he'll go and he'll take some time off. He'll go to his room, and he'll just step away for a little bit. um and then sensory input, needs to be jumping. He needs deep pressure, so you will often see him randomly come up to me and hug me, and that is because I am his safe place. So he'll come, he'll hug me, and I already know that he needs pressure, so I'll hug him and I'll squeeze him, and that helps him regulate. um and then so and that's sensory. So then now emotional regulation. He does have meltdowns when he's overwhelmed. Um, but they're meltdowns, not tantrums. They're two different things. Um, Now they use, what's the word they use? They crash out.
Right.
My girls taught me that. So um, uh, he does shut down. I noticed this quite often now that he's older. He tends to shut down. So if he does something, and I'll discipline him for it, he will shut down. And I noticed that that is happening a little bit more now, or he'll quiet down, which is not, it's something that I was not used to. So I am guessing that it's because he's getting older, and he's now starting to realize a lot of what is going on, and how he's feeling, and what he's going through. He tends to now start shutting down. So that's something that I need to work with him and learn myself, because I'm learning, you guys.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert. This is what I'm going through with my son, and what I've learned for the past 9 years, and what I need to now learn. Um, and then he does need time to decompress after very busy days, or when we go places that are very busy. He does need that time to come home and decompress. So his home is his safe place all the time. Executive functions with the autism, difficulty transitioning between tasks. I learned that also a few years back, where he does not know how to transition from one thing to another. So what worked for me was to put timers. So that way his brain, I would tell him, okay, especially playing outside, okay, you need to come in. I'm giving you 10 more minutes. It still works now. I'll give him 10 minutes, and then I'll put a timer on my phone. I go outside, a minute or 2 minutes before he hears it. I got to go, you guys. And then he comes back in. I learned that, a while back, that was going to work for him. And that's what works. So whenever he needs to transition from one task to another, I usually put a timer on, and he knows that, oh, okay, it's time for me to do this.
Yeah.
So that works now, because he knows how to tell time now. I tell him, hey, at this time, or you have 10 minutes, so he'll look at the clock. And that helps. I don't need to be putting on timers all the time. But it helps. And he now knows how to tell time. So now he knows that, oh, okay, if I tell him, okay, you're going to go over for 30 minutes, and then he goes to his friends 30 minutes, and I tell him, at this time, you need to be home. He's usually home by that time. So yeah, that's he's growing. It's helping um him, and it also helps him be very independent, more alert, and so he needs clear step-by-step instructions, and that's something that it needs to be clear for him to do it. And I do need to go one at a time in order for him to do it. He'll tell you if it's too much, and because he's very outspoken, he'll tell you, you're telling me too much. I don't understand. Don't tell me like that. So it's like, okay, so then I have to like go back and be like, okay, this, and this. Oh, okay. But yeah, he'll tell me. If it's too much for him, he'd be like, I don't understand that. That's too much for me, mommy. You need to like tell me a little bit at a time. I'm like, okay. So then I go back, and then I'll rephrase whatever I need him to do. Um, and of course, he struggles with planning, organizing, and flexible thinking. He's very black and white. There's no
In
there's
between.
nothing else. Yeah, there's no in between. And then with ADHD, organizing just goes out the window.
Mhm.
So with that said, after I went, okay, wait a minute. Okay, so then does he have both? He does. So there's something that is called AuDHD. So it's autism mixed with ADHD, and that's very fun. So it's I don't know what this is gonna how things are gonna happen later on when he gets older. I don't know how it's gonna uh pan out, I guess you can say, because they're opposites in some ways. So his brain kind of fights its own self. He wants to be organized, but just like he puts those cars together, but ADHD does not let him be organized.
Mhm.
So it's like, it's a fight, because he probably wants to do a project, but then he gets bored
Yeah.
and he doesn't finish it. But then he stresses out because with autism, he wants to finish it, but the ADHD does not let him because he's bored. So that in itself is a conflict, so it's something that I'm learning for a long time. It was like, okay, so which one is it? Which one is it? I mean, it's a mix. It's a
Yeah.
mix of both. So some signs of AUDHD, and I pulled these off off online, but I mean it's because I mean I know my child and I already know the signs, but it's funny because it's exactly the same thing he has. They cover their ears. So when it comes to sensory sensitivities and sensory seeking, they cover their ears with loud noises, but also they seek strong stimulation. So with my son, it's like he doesn't like loud noises, but he bike rides or dirt bike rides. He can go out on his dirt bike and he's completely fine with the sound that the bike makes.
It
But
stimulates
we can
them.
go, it stimulates him, but we go somewhere else and he needs to cover his ears.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's interesting. And see, for me, I love watching how his brain works. Like for me, it's like everything, it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. It's like, and maybe that's why I know him so well, because I love to just watch him and see and learn, and just how it is. Um, sensitivity to clothing, textures, tags, or certain foods. So he does have sensitivity to certain foods. Um, clothing, um, I think it's like the jeans because he does not like jeans. He usually you'll see him in shorts and you'll see him in sweats, but you will not see him in jeans. He does not like them.
True, now that I'm thinking about it, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He doesn't. I'll have jeans once in a while, but it's if he has no choice, he'll wear them. But he's just not. That's not his thing. Or shoes.
Oh yeah.
My son's constantly barefooted. He does not like shoes. Um, he needs to be barefooted. I mean, that's just he doesn't like shoes. He
Yeah.
doesn't like socks. Um, crave deep pressure, spinning or movement, which we know that. I mean, he's constantly moving. Um, he can't focus on boring tasks. So he wants to do a task, but if it's boring, he will not focus on it. But he can hyper focus for hours on what he likes.
Hmm.
So right now, um, we passed the wheeling stage, so we're not wheeling no more. I mean, he is, but it's he's the hyper fixation on it is done. Wheeling his bike and stuff.
Oh.
Right now we're at basketball. Okay, right now we're basketball, so he's learning how to play basketball. So we're that's the stage we're at right now. Okay. So we already did the wheeling stage. We already did the whole Minecraft stage. We already did the whole what else was he doing? What else was he doing? Soccer. Um we did the whole tornadoes,
Okay.
storms,
The weather.
yeah, the weather. We're past the earthquakes, we're past that. So right now we're at the basketball stage. We're fixated on basketball. And I'm learning because it's me and him. It's one-on-one, he says. So we're getting there. Um, so yeah, that can last for hours. Difficulty shifting attention once absorbed. So yeah, this is when he is learning how to do something, and you tell him, okay, well now we're gonna do this. Nope, he's needs to. This is where he's at. We can't shift him out of that. That's where he needs to be. Um, Emotional intensity is big reactions to small triggers. He does have sometimes big reactions to whatever triggers him.
Oh.
The meltdowns, difficulty calming down when he's upset, may feel emotions deeply but can't express why. So I do notice this on him. He does, when he has a really, really big emotion, um, he will usually go into the room, he gets upset, but I'll give him a few minutes, then I'll go in and I'll talk to him. If he cannot identify or let me know what is going on or why he's feeling a certain way, I will help him understand what is going on. So I work with him on that. Masking. I noticed that there is times that he does mask, um, especially when he's out and about, but he will come home very tired because it's not him. He's trying to be somebody that he's not. And that is because, like I said, I think now he's becoming more aware and he's noticing. So he does mask once in a while, tries to be, normal. Or he tries to copy other people's behaviors to maybe, fit in.
Try to fit in. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, uh, Function difficulty, trouble starting tasks, forgetting steps, or losing items constantly. I mean, that's always been difficulty transitioning between activities, needs repeated reminders. You'll always hear me constantly repeating myself constantly with him. Social differences, wants friends, but struggles with social rules. He has a lot of friends. He does struggle with the social rules. He doesn't understand certain things. He doesn't get social cues. Um, so some people see him that maybe he's too much or he's too intense just because he doesn't understand. Um, he misinterprets the tone or facial expressions. So sometimes he'll see people upset, but he doesn't understand they're upset. He doesn't understand why they're upset. He doesn't get it.
Hmm.
Um, And he sure does play better with kids that are younger than him or adults. He'll get along better with adults, not kids that are his age, because obviously they're not at the same level. Um, he needs routine to feel safe, but also acts impulsively and interrupts. So he gets frustrated when plans change subtly. Stimming, you don't see him stimming a lot. Um, I don't think that was ever something that, would, I think if I would have seen some kind of like obvious steaming, like hand flapping or, walking on its tippy toes or something like that, um, tapping or pacing or something, I think it would probably have been like, maybe it's this, but I think his stimming now is more apparent. He has something that's called autism tics. So he has tics with that will change. Sometimes is his eyes twitching, sometimes is voice stimming. He's been voice stimming a lot, so that means like he's just kind of like, huh. So it's a tick, but he's stimming as well. So you'll hear that, or he needs to yell. Right now, he is changing his voice, talking in different accents. So they're just random. He'll just randomly talk in different accents, randomly repeat like a commercial or whatever you call them nowadays. He'll just randomly repeat or rehearse the whole thing over and over. I know my brother the other day, he's like, okay, you need to stop watching YouTube. He like said like this whole commercial of a short, the whole thing. He's like, okay, you need to stop. But I mean, but he just constantly says it. It's not because he's watching it. He just like randomly just says it.
Comes up to him.
Um,
Comes up.
so that is part of steaming. It's repeating sounds or words or he picks at his skin a lot. So
Mhm.
if he sees a scab, he's constantly picking at it, picking at it, picking at it, picking at it. Um, and that's because I guess stimming helps him regulate, but it may increase under stress. So I think that when he's under stress, that's where he does more of the pacing and things like that. That's more apparent. But now I think it's just stimming has been, I never noticed stimming before. I notice it now. Um, but it's more like a voice stimming, like sound, than it is, like flapping and stuff like that. um, he does have a unique learning style. So his way of learning, like I said, we unschool because he learns how he wants to learn.
Right.
Um, and he does suffer a lot with burnout. So because he's easily overwhelmed with noise, or when I ask him to do things, or when if I ask him to do something, my husband comes and asks him to do something, and it's the same thing I said. He's like, why are you guys repeating that? You guys already told me that. That's something I already need to do. I know that I need to do.
Yeah.
You don't need to repeat yourself.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, okay. Um, he needs long periods alone to recharge, and you will see him drained after a very, very busy day. So that is basically my son with AuDHD. Um, that was a little information for everybody. I mean, it's not a diagnosis, and it's not saying that that's what you guys have. This is just me, what I go through with my son, what he has. But I just wanted to put that information out there, um, of how I learned that is what he's going through, and what I had to teach myself and me myself understand, what's going on with him. Other than that, I mean, he's just like any other child. I mean, he cooks for himself. I taught him how to cook because he was fire fascinated him. The candles, he was playing with the matches and with lighters, and I said, okay, wait a minute. So I ended up taking that and just, okay, this is what fire is used for. or one way fire is used for, and this we cook. This is the safe way to use fire, and that helped. And so teach him how to cook. So he does cook his own meals. He does. I try to make sure that whatever is not safe that he's doing or he's fixated on that I know is not safe, I try to, you know, steer him to the more positive and more safe way to do things.
Mhm.
So he understands that, okay, this is not okay, but we can do it this way.
Yeah.
And so that's why, he does know how to cook at a young age, because it was his fixation with fire that that got him to, or got me to teach him how to cook. So he knew how to use fire in a safe way.
Okay.
Um,
I wanted to
but
ask,
mhm.
sorry, I
No,
wanted to
go ahead.
ask, or say and ask, you're the first one that I know that started homeschooling, started raising their kids or your kids differently than how we were raised.
Mhm.
Um, and I know you got a lot of backlash
I
for,
still do.
and still do, for doing or raising your kids a specific way and homeschooling your kids a specific way. I want to talk a little bit more about that as well, because I know there's people out there who want to do the same thing, but are scared
Mhm.
or don't know how to come around actually doing it without the criticism, without the backlash, I guess you can say.
Okay. So there's always going to be criticism.
Right,
There's
right,
always going to be backlash,
right.
because especially if you were not brought up that way,
Hmm.
or nobody around you had ever done it. One thing I told myself from the beginning was, I know my kids.
Hmm.
Nobody else knows my kids.
Yep.
I taught my kids how to walk. I taught my kids how to talk. I taught my kids how to count. Why can I not teach them what they need to know in life? Um, that's how I started before knowing everything with my son. That's what I told myself. You know, hey, I can teach him how to count. He's learning his math. Okay, I'm gonna help him one on one. If that's what he needs, that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, I did get a lot of, why are you doing that? Um, and I really never talked about it. So I've been homeschooling my son. He's a fourth grader, so for 4 years. So I've been doing this for 4 years. Um, and I really never talk about it. I really never post about it. Just randomly. And I think I've been doing it a lot more now. But I did get a lot of backlash. I did get a lot of like, why the biggest one, and I think every homeschool parent gets, is you are taking away their social life.
Yeah.
You're not. You're not. My son is a social butterfly. He loves to randomly come up to people and say hi and start talking and making friends. And, you know, that's who he is. There's co-ops. If, they're worried about, social life, there's co-ops, homeschooling co-ops, that they go and they do, field trips, and they do some sports. And, there's also sports outside of co-ops that you can actually, put your kids in. um, People think that homeschooling is just staying at home and you do not talk to nobody outside your home, period. That is far from the truth. you know I think that it's so funny, because if you think about it, what kind of social life do they even have at school, just talking to kids their same age?
Hmm.
They don't really talk to kids that are older or kids that are younger. They stay within the same age range. When homeschooled kids can actually talk to little kids all the way to adults, they'll have a conversation because they see them all the same.
Yeah.
There's no like, oh, you're my age, so I'm only going to hang out with you with kids my age. that's far from the truth. Like you literally, that social life that you're talking about, um, from kids in public school is literally that social life of little kids in their same age range. They're not learning more than what everybody else is learning at the same age range. When you have kids in homeschooling, they can learn from other kids that are in high school or from adults, and they're, learning from them as well as teaching little kids as well. It's broader. So you get that. I learned that within time. Um, I did get a lot of um, I wouldn't do that. I don't have the time to do that. I work, just because you're a stay-at-home mom, you have the time. No, homeschooling is not, you don't have a specific time to do it. You can do it early in the morning, you can do it after work. Um, you can have your kids at, grandma's house and they're learning it depending on what type of homeschooling you're doing. I mean, they can be at home, they just log on and, do whatever they need to do, or at grandma's house or whoever's watching them if you're working, um, or do it after work, on the weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way because my home is registered as a private homeschool, and I teach my kids, I teach them whenever they want to learn, basically. I mean, because we're constantly learning regardless. I mean, everything you do is you learn regardless. I have no curriculum. So sometimes if, you know, say I go to Mexico a lot, that's another thing. People are like, oh yeah, just because you want to go on vacation and you want to take your kids, that's why you homeschool. They're learning regardless.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we went to go visit you in Texas. We did that drive. What did we do? We drove, we stopped by the Grand Canyon. We did a little learning there about the Grand Canyon. I mean, they're learning history, they're learning geography. It's like they're reading math with the altitude and how wide they learn all that hands on.
Yeah.
We stopped by in Santa Fe. Why? Because it's the capital of New Mexico. My son was amazed because he went to the capital of New Mexico. It's just all those little things that people think, oh, well, because you just want to travel. No, they're learning wherever they're going. They're constantly learning.
Yes. Yes.
And so you will get all that. We were conditioned to all go to school and follow certain rules and do certain things. And, everybody has to learn the same thing at the same time, the same way. Kids are not the same. I learned that working at school. I learned that nobody learns the same way. Now with my son, that was confirmation that there's no way he was going to be able to learn like all the other kids. That wasn't going to happen. What was going to happen? He was going to feel suppressed. He was going to get stressed, anxiety, depression. No, that was not going to work for me. I was not going to let that happen. And because we're parents, we understand our kids. Nobody else raises your kids but you.
Yeah.
So I mean, there is going to be, I can't tell you, no, you're not going to get backlash, no, you're not going to get the comments, or they're going to look at you. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But you have to always remember, they're my kids and I'm going to raise them how I think it's the best for us, what works for us.
Yeah.
And this worked for us. I got it from my husband. My husband, he was like, are you sure this is what you're going to do? I'm sure. And he still asks questions even 4 years later.
Yeah.
But it's funny because now that he's seen everything, sometimes he'll ask randomly. I mean, it's not as often as it was before, but then he goes and talks to other of his friends, and he's like, yeah, my wife's been homeschooling and I've noticed this and I've noticed that, and maybe you guys should try it. Maybe you should ask her about it. And it's like, I thought you didn't understand it. He goes, I don't. That's why I tell them to talk to you. Like, okay, sure. But he obviously sees, he sees that that it's working, that something's going on, that our kids are learning, and he sees the difference. So he he sends them my way. But yeah, but I did I answer your question? Was that
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah?
Yeah, I just wanted to have you share some of your backlash experience because I know you tend to get criticized and backlash when it comes to something different than how we were raised and how many people were raised actually.
Yeah.
So for you to continue breaking cycles and continue doing things that work for you and your family, it may seem different for especially for us first geners what and in this generation as well, um what is the best way to do anything honestly. And so I just wanted you to share a little bit of your experience with that. How does your family in Mexico take it of you
My family,
homeschooling
mm,
and doing what you're doing? Like,
yeah, so it's my husband's family.
yeah.
Um, they don't understand
Mhm.
at all.
Mhm.
Um, they feel like we are lazy,
Mhm.
like we don't want our kids to go to school, like we're robbing them from opportunities.
Yeah.
Um, which maybe if I had if this was like probably the first year when I started homeschooling, um, I understand where they were coming from. Now I'm just kind of like I see the difference, and I see the difference with my kids and the kids over there. And I'm like, no, it's I'm fine the way I would do this a million times again. I try to explain it, but they don't understand. Again, they're different cultures. Like I said, even my husband, struggles to understand now. He's just, I mean, he does defend them, but yeah, which is fine. I mean, it's just a lack of education,
Yeah.
you know.
Sure.
I mean, if I would have known this um 15 years ago, I'd probably take out my oldest daughter and homeschool all of them.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't, so I don't blame anybody. I mean, it is what it is, but just don't. I mean, it's easier to criticize than to educate yourself.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's what it is. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Um, One thing I do want to talk about though is it's not easy, especially if you're doing it and saying, you know what, let me see if I can figure it out, and let me see if this is gonna work. It's hard. It's not easy because we are conditioned to go public school and it has to be this way. I did cry a few times. I didn't know if I knew what I was doing, if I was doing it correct or not. There's no right or wrong. You know your kids. Um, it's just whatever you feel that is gonna work for you, do it. There's people that curriculum works for them. Um, Doing things strategically and scheduling and curriculum, it works. It works for them. Again, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for my son. Um, but it does work for other people. So maybe that's what you need to do. Um, Everybody's different, but it is hard trying to figure out. It's a hit or miss. I went through, I think it was over $2,000 worth of curriculum that I bought to try to figure out what it is that was going to work. Um, so now I just figured out, okay, well that's not going to work. We do worksheets here and there, um, just so I can see, my son where he's at, what he's doing. I also have a high schooler. But she usually does. She's doing, what is it called? Khan Academy. So there it's usually it's a whole it's an app, and that one tracks how she's doing her percentage. That one's more like online.
Mhm.
So I'm not worried about that one. But yeah, it's my son, the one that I do things a little bit more differently. My daughter needs to have a set schedule. She also needs to
Right.
have, some kind of structure.
Yeah.
But my son is it's different with him.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but it is hard. You are gonna feel like you don't know what you're doing half the time. You're gonna doubt yourself, especially if you're hearing that noise, you're paying attention to the noise. You are gonna doubt yourself. I know my mom, I would call her crying. I'm like, I don't understand. And she would always tell me, she says, pues yo tampoco te entiendo, mija, but you know what's best for your kids. She goes, and if that's what's best for your kids, do it.
Yeah.
Which for me, what was it was helpful because I mean, she was aware that she didn't know and maybe couldn't help me, but at least, give me that reassurance that hey, it's okay, you know?
Mhm.
And yeah, it is hard at the beginning, but once you get the hang of it, it works out.
Yeah. I think it's like life in general. You have to figure out what works for you in general
Yeah,
as you go,
yeah.
because some things may work for you, some things may not work for others, or some
Hmm.
things that work for other people may not work for you, and vice versa. So
Right.
it's something that if it's heavy in your mind, just try it. You don't know unless you try it. You don't know
Yeah.
what's gonna happen unless you give it a shot. So, and that's with anything in life, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Another thing I wanted to talk about is, with having a neurodivergent child is very difficult as a parent. As a parent and not knowing anybody around you
Yeah.
that can understand what you're going through is even more difficult. Um, I've struggled, I think, from the beginning when I knew that my son was neurodivergent and I knew, but deep down inside, I didn't want to accept it, but I just knew was hard. It was hard the day that, and I remember the day that I um, finally said, you know what? I told my husband, it is what it is. I remember I cried and I cried for like days. I remember I called my mom crying, I called my brother crying, and they told me, hey, it is what it is. You're okay, you know, you're gonna be fine. But it was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard because I didn't know what to do and I didn't know where to go and I didn't know how to come about it. And that's when I started, studying and learning on my own. And I said, wait a minute, like if anybody else is going to do this, I need to learn myself
Mhm.
what's going on here, how I can help my child, how I can help him succeed, and it is lonely. It's lonely because I remember the first what was it, like 4 years we stayed in. We didn't go out to eat at restaurants because he couldn't stay still and he was, throwing tantrums and or having meltdowns and he wasn't eating and he was yelling and it was like what the heck is going on? So we wouldn't go out. People would invite us over. We wouldn't go because he was all over the place and he was running up and down the stairs and he wouldn't stay still. And, he would grab stuff and sometimes he would break stuff. And it was like, what the heck? And after, so when I finally came to terms that, it is what it is. Um, and I started learning, I started realizing, okay, I can help him. I just need to know how.
Yeah.
And that in reality, which was a few years back, that's when I started my whole healing journey. When I went full on to heal myself after I had my son, because it was a lot. It was becoming a lot for me to handle because then that was triggering me, my depression from their anxiety. And so having to handle all that, having to homeschool, having a whole house to run and still having to heal myself and educate myself. And everything was just like I felt at the time was thrown my way. Now it's like I can, sit back and I can, I thank God I figure everything out. And again, I think God has the one that has been carrying me through all this and putting, everything how it needs to be in order for me to learn, what I need to learn to help my child. Um, my husband doesn't understand. He gets it. He understands certain things, but he struggles himself because he has ADHD. Um, he doesn't know how to regulate himself sometimes. And so it's a battle between my son and my husband at times, where most of the time my son is the one who gives up and he comes and he just hug me, mom. And I hug him. He goes, I don't understand, papi. I have to teach my son how to understand his dad because my husband still does not understand himself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I try to help my husband. However, I'm going to say that because I did learn all this, um, I learned how to understand my husband because my husband is also very black and white. And he would tell me things just, hey, this, and that. And I was like, why are you so rude? He wasn't rude. That's just how, it is what it is. And I learned now to just brush everything off. I know, that they tell me things not because they're trying to be mean, but because that's just, that's how their brain works. I don't take things for, I take these with a grain of salt. So it doesn't hurt me anymore like it did before. I think before because I wasn't healed, um, I would get hurt a lot more.
Yeah.
Now it's just kind of like, all right, whatever. Like, or I'll laugh about it, or I try to be a part of because it doesn't bother me anymore.
Mhm.
But it is lonely. It is, you feel like nobody understands you. Um, you feel that you are not doing a good job. You doubt yourself constantly. Um, but I think that and it's okay, I mean, it's valid, it's valid to feel that way. But I feel that without the healing, it would probably be 10 times worse.
Yeah.
I have now, I have grace for myself. I'm like, hey, you're fine. I do break down sometimes because I am unsure. But then again, I say, no, I'm here for a reason. And I educate myself and I don't think I'm doing a bad job.
Yeah.
Like I look at my kids and I'm like, okay, yeah, they're not bad. We're all different. Um, so I just think that it was just meant for me to be here and I am here and I'm grateful for that because I was given the tools and um God has opened the doors that need to be for me to be able to be where I'm at and to help my family out.
For sure.
Yeah, but people, you're not alone. I mean, if you are going through something similar, know that you're not alone. I get you. It's hard. Um, I completely understand. Um, and I understand what it is that how it feels for family not to understand. I could, sit here and say, "Oh my goodness, it's getting dark. Oh my goodness, my family doesn't understand me. They're not there for me, whatever." But at the same time, I get it that I mean, if they want to educate themselves or want to be a part of, they would do it. Um, I have to say, and I have to thank you, sister, because you are a big part of my support system. Because whenever you or we're going to go over, you always go out of your way to make sure my children have, the things that they eat, that they could eat. You make sure that, everything's good, that they have things that stimulate them or that help them out, or you plan, to go places that would help them out. And I'm thankful.
Oh, of course. Of
So
course.
I love you for that, and I love the support that you give me, and that, I know I could call you and you're like, hey, you're fine, you're doing a great job. You're always, cheering on my kids, supporting them, and going out of your way for that. And I mean, I just love that. That helps out a lot.
No, for sure. I mean, I feel like you said, whoever wants to be there will be there. And I'm a big advocate because of that as well. Uh,
Yeah,
and it just makes life, I feel like the people who are in your life and make things or want to be in your life just make things so much easier for you. And I feel
yeah,
like that's definitely a community that I've always wanted to have and build. Speaking of community, we did create a Facebook page called No More Yes Girls Community.
community.
And it's free. You can just sign up to get accepted into the membership. And we want to start creating a community just like this, especially with people who have kids on the spectrum, kids in general, or trying to be better before having kids. I know I'm one of those
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
So a community where we can just talk about anything and everything and just think of it as a breather. You're just taking a breather of life because sometimes it can be very lonely. It can get very lonely. And when you have a group or a community that of people who just understand and who don't
yeah,
judge, it just makes it 100 times better, especially when going through your own healing journey. Um, so I'm excited to continue to build this community. And again, all of the links that we mentioned today and the community link, I'll post or write everything in the description box. That way you guys can just click on it and just sign up. Again, it's free. And once we gather more people in, we'll start creating more or start being more involved with it, meaning we'll start doing our own little sessions or group sessions or just calls for anything or anyone who wants to talk about a specific thing, or we can come up with a curriculum later on. But this is something that
yeah,
that we both want to start and get the ball rolling because there's a lot of us who have been messaging us. And again, thank you to each and every one of you guys who have said amazing words or send us a lot of positivity our way. It is
yeah,
not, it is definitely something that we've appreciate and especially the ones who are wanting to do some type of membership or community group. It's here, and
yeah,
I know we've been getting messages about that too. So I'm excited to see what this unfolds to later on, and excited to meet everybody in the group as well because I mean, hey, it's life can be a challenge at times, but it can be a beautiful journey.
yep,
And the people that you meet down the line just makes it 10 times better. And but yeah, I this one's this episode was a longer one than usual, but I really, really wanted my sister to talk about this because there is a lot of people out there, and I know there's people who can relate to this, and just see that you guys are not alone. That you guys are not alone in
yeah,
this, and there's people out there, and I know Vivian, you're probably are gonna want to help those people on
oh yeah,
trying to understand this because I know, because you know how they feel, you know what they're going
yeah,
through, and I know you'll be like the first person to jump up and say, hey, you know what, it's okay. What
mm-hmm,
do you need help with? Is there anything that I can help you with? And I know
yeah,
you would be a great person to go. I mean, I even say for the people that I meet who are on the spectrum, be like, you know, if you ever want to talk to my sister,
yeah,
I got you. And I know
Yeah,
she will get you too.
yeah. Yeah, because I know it gets lonely, and I know that sometimes we just need somebody to get us, to
Yeah,
understand us, and to help us or walk us through it or just hold our hand,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and I get it.
yeah.
So if
So
anybody is welcome, to reach out if you need any help with anything, I'm open.
for sure. For sure. And as
So
always, all the links to our socials, our email, will be down in the description box. And I'm excited. And thank you once again for all the people who have been commenting as well,
yeah.
um, and who have been following us on our social medias as well. It doesn't go unnoticed, and
Hmm.
we're engaging. We're trying to engage as much as we can. Um, and just thank you for the support, and I'm excited to see what else this podcast and social media and this community has in store for us and for each and every one
Yes.
of you. As always, sending you guys a lot of love and a lot of light your way. And
And we'll see you in the next episode.
yes, bye.
Bye.